One hand on the handlebar, one hand right here, butt on the seat, and I've got a little bit of gas pouring out. That's actually pretty common. Grab and then just lift with your legs and ride it up. You just need to use the back of your boot, hook it underneath, and then yank up. Nothing that you can do right here in this parking lot post-accident is going to make your motorcycle perfect again. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Yammie Noob, and today we are going to talk about what happens and what you should do if you are to drop your motorcycle. This is something that is going to happen to everybody. It's happened to me, it's happened to Yam, it's happened to Whitney, it's happened to Josh. Everybody drops their motorcycle at some point. And today we are going to go over what you should do and a couple of things that you need to check on before you decide to hit the road and limp it home. And we are actually going to talk about some things to remember while you're on your way home. So let's dive right in. But first things first, I need to get my motorcycle on its side. Now, normally, I wouldn't come out here with the DRZ, but I wanted something that I'm okay laying on its side. So the DRZ is the chosen mule of the day, and I'm going to drop it in exactly the same position that I would if it were running. So for this, we have the petcock on, the gas cap is closed, everything is as if it would be if I were to drop it. Keys even on. So let's set it down nice and gentle because I don't want to just throw this on the ground.
Now, while we're talking about dropping stuff, your motorcycle's not the only thing that you're going to drop in life. More likely, you're gonna drop your cell phone. Statistically speaking, someone out there in the world right now is watching this video, listening to me speak while their phone is currently hurtling towards the ground at 9.8 meters per second. Don't let gravity destroy your magic space brick. Get a case from Rockform, which is drop tested from 6 feet and fits onto their low profile handlebar phone mount. They've got stem mounts for sport bikes and handlebar mounts for everyone else. But the fun doesn't just stop there. They've got all kinds of goodies for your phone, so click that link down below and check out everything Rockform has to offer and use the code YN25 to get 25% off your order. Now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Your motorcycle is down and you are probably somewhere like, let's see, right here. That's probably what ended up happening. The first thing you gotta do is make sure that you can get your motorcycle off of you. So, as you can see, my foot down there is underneath the bike, and I've got a little bit of gas pouring out. That's actually pretty common. So, if you're stuck under your bike, one thing that I like to do, because I have been stuck under before, is to just use your boot and kind of pry the bike up a little bit with your free foot. There's usually a spot where with your leg and your boot, you can sort of leverage the motorcycle up enough to get your foot out from underneath it. If you can't, you gotta sit up and try and lift as much as you can. You're not gonna get much purchase here because the bike is heavy, especially if it's not a 317-pound dual sport. Best spot is just from the back, and you just need to lift it a little bit to get your foot out from underneath. Now, this is all, of course, assuming that you didn't really hurt yourself. If you really did hurt yourself, somebody's going to do this for you. Obviously, these are most of the wrecks that we experience are probably lower speed tip overs where maybe you're going 15 or 20 miles an hour in a parking lot or in a spot like this. And, you just lost the bike. Maybe you had a shoelace that got caught when you were trying to put your foot down. Next thing you need to do is make sure that you're okay, right? Before you even go touch your motorcycle again, you need to make sure that all of your bits are still attached and still moving. If they're not, you got to leave the bike where it is. Take care of yourself first. You can't ride the bike if you can't stand up. So normally this is the part where adrenaline is taking over, right? You've dropped your motorcycle and you're like, oh my God, I gotta run in. It's leaking gas and stuff. I gotta run in, I gotta lift it up and do all that stuff. No, first thing you need to do is make sure that you're okay. Move all of your little joints, make sure everything's moving. Really take a few good deep breaths, because bike ain't going anywhere. If you're in traffic, people will stop, especially on a city road like this out here. They're gonna stop. They're not just gonna plow right into you. Sometimes if you get, unlucky, the second you go down, somebody behind you might be a little too close. That's a really bad case, but you see, these folks aren't going all that quick. They'll be able to jam on their brakes. They have enough mechanical grip to not get up on top of you if there's a problem. So get up, make sure that you're okay. And again, you need to take a few seconds to calm yourself down. The next thing you need to do is, you see my lights are still on. That means that all of the electronics are still on this motorcycle. Turn the key off. It's super important, especially on modern motorcycles with a lot of electronics, to key the motorcycle on. You see I'm still leaking gas there. I haven't even gotten to the gas bit yet. That's actually not that important. So, bike is off. I'm okay. Let's lift the motorcycle up, because you can't actually make any damage assessment on your motorcycle until you lift it up. Now, don't just run in and go like that. You're gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna throw out your back. It's actually really hard to just deadlift a motorcycle like that. I'm not even sure I could do it on this bike. Let's see if I can. Yep, nope. Okay, so you want to know how to lift a motorcycle? It's super duper easy. One hand here, one hand here. And it's the same on dual sports, it's the same on ADV bikes, it's the same on sport bikes, it's the same on any motorcycle. You want to lift a bike, there's only one good way to do it. And anybody can do this, by the way. I've seen Doodle on a motorcycle do it. I've seen people who are really small lifting big ass heavy cruisers using this technique. It's totally doable, so don't freak out. All you got to do is put your feet out here, one hand on the handlebar, one hand right here, butt on the seat, grab, and then just lift with your legs and ride it up. Now you see my hand is covered in gas because it was all pouring out there. I'm gonna go wash the bike after I'm done with this. But don't forget, once you've got it lifted up, you gotta put your kickstand down. Otherwise, you gotta do it all over again. Ask me how I know. I've actually dropped this motorcycle before, gone to lift it up, lifted it up, and then forgotten to put the kickstand down, drop it again, and had to do the whole process all over. So you've got the motorcycle up, you're okay, the bike is off, it's time to do a little bit of a check. Before you even turn the engine on, there's a couple of things that you can look for, okay? Now, I have these bark busters on my motorcycle. You probably don't, because you don't ride a dual sport. Chances are you're on a super sport or sport bike or a naked bike or something. It's really important to check your levers are working. Go in and feel them out. If they don't feel normal, that's something you need to address before you even turn your motorcycle on. Especially your clutch lever right here. Clutch levers, for whatever reason, I find that if there's a situation, it's often right here in the clutch lever. Your brake lever, as long as it releases, is fine. Like maybe you get some weird pressure, like you've got an air bubble or something in there, but it'll work, and you have two brakes, right? So if your front brake isn't 100%, your back brake can help you stop. And I mean, it's not like we're gonna go tear up a twisty with the bike in limp mode, right? So really make sure that your clutch is working. And eventually we're gonna futz around with the lever, but we're gonna get there in a second. Make sure that clutch is going through the full sweep. You can feel where it's engaging, all of that good stuff. Make sure that this is going and your rear brake is working. If your brakes are going, you're probably good to go. But again, we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a second. This is super important for anybody that has bar end mirrors, who has bark busters, anything on the end of your handlebar. You need to check your throttle. You need to make sure that the throttle goes all the way forward and releases on its own. If it sticks at any point in that throttle throw, chances are what happened is when you went down, you see how I have my red throttle tube, that's my handlebar right there, and then I have even a little bit more room for the bark buster to get smashed into the handlebar. A lot of times people will leave this throttle tube flush with the end of their handlebar, and then when this gets pushed in, you can't turn the throttle anymore, or it gets stuck open. It's like having a throttle lock on your bike. That's no good. You really need to make sure that you can turn and move your throttle totally fine. If this doesn't work, don't worry about the bike, pull the key out, lock the forks, come back with a truck. Because if there's any weirdness in the throttle and you can't fix it here on the side of the road, it's not worth trying to risk another accident on the way back because you were trying to ride a motorcycle with a throttle that doesn't work. Okay? So, now that we've checked brakes, clutch, let's check our foot controls. If this moves, you can feel yourself clicking through the gears. That's first, that's neutral, that's second, that's first. If you've got second and first gear, you're good to limp this motorcycle home. You're going to be on some surface roads probably. You're not going to be going very fast, but again, we're not worried about going fast. We're just worried about getting home. Guys, this is not about you getting back on the racetrack today. This is about you getting home in one piece so you can fix your motorcycle. You need to check this lever. Make sure that you can move your gears. Let me tell you a little story. This is actually kind of fun. With one of my whoopsie daisies, I actually had this, instead of snapping, it bent back like a U. So I had, basically the lever was back here. If you're in that situation and you're like, oh, I can't shift up, you actually can. You just need to use the back of your boot, hook it underneath, and then yank up. It's a little bit more complicated, but if you're like, oh, I can't bend this lever back into place, you can still downshift normally. You just need to shift up by pulling up on the lever. I've actually been there a couple of times where I've had to yank up on the lever to get it to work. And actually, this thing, you're like, oh, well, it doesn't matter on this because it's a pivot point. I've actually kind of locked it down because it was moving around too much. It's gotten loose again, but with most sport bikes, you don't have this dipping lever here. So if your lever gets bent back, just use the heel of your boot to shift up. That's a quick little life hack that I've discovered. I probably haven't discovered, I'm sure people have been doing it forever, but, you know, something that helped me get my motorcycle to a dealership after I had a little whoopsie daisy. Okay, so, you're okay. Controls are okay. Motorcycle is off, motorcycle's on its side. Time to see if everything turns on, okay? So, go, click your motorcycle on, and do a little walk around, right? My headlight's on. My dashboard is on. My blinkers, let's check those. Left and right. Well, left, right. We're all good there. How about my rear brake? My light's on. How about if I pull the lever? Yep, we're all good. So, my lights are working. Probably means the rest of the bike's working. Let's see how it starts. Now this is something, if you have a carbureted motorcycle and you've tipped it over, you might notice that the first time you start it, it's actually a little bit tough because fluid from your carburetor might have gone up out of the hole, down into the engine, and flooded it a little bit. So if you have a carb bike, you might have a little bit of a hard start situation. So let's see here. Yep, a little bit of gas went into the engine, so I gotta burn it off a little bit. There it goes. Let your bike idle like this for a little while, because while I don't have any case damage here, if there's any fluids that are gonna leak, you're gonna notice it now. So sit by your motorcycle as it's idling and keep an eye out for specifically the damaged areas to see if they're leaking, but also some of the areas that don't look damaged. You never know. Sometimes going down on that side unscrews something over here. It sounds weird. It has happened to me before where I go down on that side with this bike and something over here starts leaking. Don't know why. Probably just a DRZ thing, but it is worth checking out. It's also worth checking out while you're just sitting here to make sure that your coolant system is working. Chances are your bike's already going to be warm, and you can watch your fan while you're sitting here. My fan's right there. And if you let it idle for a little while and the bike still knows how hot it is, that fan's going to kick on. It's a really cold day today. It's about 58 degrees according to my dashboard. So it would take a long time for my fan to kick on, so I'm not going to wait for that. But let's assume that everything's working, the fan's good to go, and we're all set. You're good to go home, right? Right? All done. Bike is good. I'm okay. Time to just rip a dank nooner home, right? Well, not really. You still don't know if you going down has tweaked your handlebars. You don't know if going down has messed up your forks. You don't know any of that stuff, which is part of the reason why I am currently standing in this empty parking lot, because the first thing you got to do before you decide to take your motorcycle out on a road is take your motorcycle. I'm assuming you've probably already pulled it off into a parking lot somewhere, and you're just going to do a nice slow speed check run. If anything is just dangerously wrong with your motorcycle, you'll feel it instantly. Instantly, you'll feel it. So let's stand it up. I'm sitting on the bike. I'm looking down, right? This is where you're going to be able to tell if your forks or if your handlebars are tweaked. If your handlebars are tweaked and you have a straight up bar like this, one thing you can do is lock the fork in the direction opposite your tweaks. So if I've gone down like this, chances are this handlebar is bent in, right? What I can do is I can go the other way and press on this handlebar a little bit. Just push and push and push and see if it doesn't straighten out a little bit. Because if your handlebar is like this when you're going straight, then you might not be able to turn left. Or turning right, you might oversteer. So try to push your forks just a little bit to see if you can make that handlebar go a little bit straight. You don't need to be Hercules here, but it helps to be sitting on the bike to do this. Push it and just press, press, press. If you have any levers that are bent, or broken, I highly recommend riding with a multi-tool, because that'll give you enough purchase to possibly bend this lever back in place, or any bolts or anything down here. With that, you can bend it in place with a multi-tool. I happen to have one with these bits on it and this little extender, so I can actually get in and replace some of these if I had a spare lever floating around, which if I go off-road more, I really should start considering carrying a spare lever just in case. But now it is also worth remembering that nothing that you can do right here in this parking lot post-accident is going to make your motorcycle perfect again. Nothing you can do here is going to be the catch-all solution to your problem. You're going to have, if you've gone down at anything more than 10 miles an hour, you've done damage to this motorcycle that you cannot fix right here, and you just have to deal with it later. There's nothing you can do here. So, let's get the bike started again, which it helps if the key is on. Okay, bike is running. Now we're going to do a quick check. We're going to go up to neutral, Neutral's working. I let the clutch out. Go up to second. Down to first. Okay, we're good. I only need first and second to get this motorcycle home, but if you need to, you can go. That's second gear, that's third gear, that's fourth gear, and just like that, keep testing the gears all the way up and see if there's a point where it catches. If you need help getting up into gears, letting the clutch out and giving some throttle will help move the transmission around so you can find that next gear a little bit easier. Okay, let's do a quick little check on this motorcycle. The first thing I'm going to do is just go straight for a little bit. Nice and slow, I'm just going straight. And then I'm going to come to a stop. What this is doing is it's making sure that your wheels are still true and that your brakes still work. Because while the levers work, who knows, maybe you dropped fluid or you have a bubble in the line somewhere. So just do this a couple of times. Go nice and slow. Test rear brake. Alright, that's working. Test front brake. Alright, that's working. Go from lock, like this, to lock, like this. Just making sure that you have the full control of your motorcycle's range of motion so that, you know, you can get this motorcycle home safely. If you notice that you can't turn to the left as far as you turn to the right, maybe you need to take a route that has less left turns to get you home. I'm also just checking that the clutch is working here, which the clutch barely works on this DRZ anyway, but it's working well enough to get me where I need to go. Next, I'm going to just shift up into second, make sure second gear's working right, down to first gear's working all right. Okay. Now, at this point, I am comfortable getting this motorcycle back on the road and home to my garage so I can fix it. But you still need to ride this motorcycle carefully. There's entirely plausible that an issue that you didn't notice at 5 miles an hour becomes apparent at 35 miles an hour, because on a motorcycle, speed is the solution to and cause of all of life's problems. Alright, so pulling out on the street, I'm going to take it real nice and ginger up to about 35 miles an hour here. Just checking to make sure everything's okay. I'm not doing anything herky-jerky. I'm not trying to get home fast. I'm just trying to get home. So I highly recommend just getting up to about 30 miles an hour, making sure that everything works. Because if you have another problem, it's better to sort that problem out here than while you're under your bike a little bit further down the road because you had a second accident. But I'm feeling reasonably confident that my motorcycle's doing okay. If your motorcycle is not doing okay, if there's some weird sputter in the engine or the handling, you're throwing a speed wobble at 35 miles an hour, pull the motorcycle over, pull the keys out, lock the forks, come back with a truck. Because it is not worth trying to fight this all the way back, right? Especially, I don't have any cars behind me, but in traffic, you're not gonna have somebody who's like, oh, that motorcycle just went down, I need to give him some space, right? It's just not worth having a second accident, because a second accident is going to do more damage to your motorcycle, it's gonna do more damage to you. Just come back and rescue it later. Now, with all of that being said, hopefully this video has helped some of you beginners out there who are worried about experiencing their first wreck and what to do if you go down and all of that stuff. Hopefully this has helped make you a little less nervous about the process and show you the steps that I go through when I drop a motorcycle. On a more positive note, though, guys, if you are out there and you need help getting a motorcycle back up on two wheels, one of the best places to do it is on the Yammie Noob Discord server. We actually have a channel dedicated to fixing motorcycles. So if you're a noob out there and you want to get your bike back on the road after a whoopsie-daisy, hit up the Yammie Noob Discord server and see if there's somebody out there who can help you get through the process, or even help you pick the right part for your motorcycle. All the links are in the description down below, so go ahead and check that out. And until the next one, I'll see you guys later.
Keep watching Yammie Noob.